Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another Season 7 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today, I'm going to be covering Tryndamere, the Barbarian King.
My right arm is a lot stronger than my left arm.
Alright, let's start this guide by looking at Tryndamere's pros and cons. Now, Tryndamere's a champion with amazing sustain because of his Q ability. He can turn his Fury into health over and over again during the lane phase, and it's going to give him a lot of sustain. Tryndamere is also going to have 35% crit chance at level 1 when he does have 100 Fury. This is going to give him some of the best level 1 damage in the entire game, and he can abuse a lot of the champions out there with it. He's also got a relatively low cooldown escape and gap closer from his spinning slash. This allows him to escape ganks over and over again, and is a great way to get on champions. Tryndamere also has an ultimate that lets him stay alive for 5 seconds, no matter how much damage he takes. Since he will have a ton of damage and he can't die, he's one of the best duelists in the entire game. When you combine this with the fact that he has a ton of wave clear and he can take down towers insanely quickly, he's one of the best split pushers as well. Now Tryndamere, however, has a lot of hard matchups, specifically those ranged champions. He's a pretty easy champion to kite, which will allow those ranged champions to do their damage, and he's not going to be able to even hit them. Tryndamere finally is also a pretty weak team fighter and very item dependent. You're going to have to wait until a lot of crowd controls and defensives are down before you enter a team fight. If you enter too early, you're just going to eat a lot of crowd controls and die even when you have your ultimate. For my Masteries, I like to go 18 Ferocity and 12 Resolve, grabbing Fervor of Battle as my Keystone Mastery. Tryndamere's a champion that likes to rush a fair amount of attack speed early on in the game, and therefore Fervor of Battle is going to add a ton of damage when he's going on to champions. Warlord's Bloodlust is a decent option as well, but he already has a lot of sustain from his Q ability, so it's usually better to go for Fervor. For the rest of your Masteries, you want to pick up as much damage as possible on the Ferocity side while getting a little bit of increased sustain from the Resolve side. Runic Armor is actually really strong on Tryndamere because of that plus healing, and therefore I wouldn't go 12 Cunning. 12 Resolve is definitely much better. For my runes, I like to go for Attack Damage Reds, Armor Yellows, Magic Resist Blues, and Attack Speed Quints. It's a very typical rune page for an attack damage carry. The attack damage and attack speed is going to make last hitting just a little bit easier, and your trades are going to be a bit more effective. You then want to pick up the armor and the magic resist just so you're a little bit tankier and more durable. If you're against an attack damage based champion, then you could take scaling magic resist instead for the late game, but usually I just stick with this setup here. For your summoner spells, you first want to choose either Ghost or Flash. Tryndamere already has some good mobility from his spinning slash, so Flash is not always required. It's still definitely my favorite summoner spell, but if you're looking for even more mobility for cheesy all-ins or that extra movement speed in team fights, then you may want to consider getting Ghost over Flash. Both are very viable options, and it's up to you which one you take. Next, you'll need to decide if you want to take Ignite or Teleport. If you're looking to be a very strong split pusher, then Teleport is definitely going to be the stronger option, but if you're looking for additional damage for your all-ins and you want to get snowballing, then Ignite may be the one you want to grab. I usually end up taking Teleport and Flash myself because I spend a lot of time split pushing, but Ignite Ghost is very cheesy and can get you some early kills. Your passive is Battle Fury, and this is what gives you your Fury to heal yourself with your Q ability and your critical strike chance. The first part here is just called Fury. Tryndamere gains 5 Fury every time he lands a basic attack, increased to 10 Fury on critical strikes, and 10 Fury each time he kills an enemy. After not dealing or receiving damage for 8 seconds, Tryndamere loses 5 Fury per second. The next part here is Battle Fury, and this makes Tryndamere gain 0.35% critical strike chance per point of Fury he currently has, up to a maximum of 35% critical strike chance. So this ability, as previously mentioned, is why Tryndamere is one of the best level 1 champions, because he can have 35% critical strike chance at level 1 when he has 100 Fury. When Tryndamere gets lucky with a couple auto attacks at level 1, if he does have Ignite, he can kill an enemy champion almost instantly. His Q ability does also use this Fury, so let's talk about that ability now. His Q ability is Bloodlust, and this gives him some bonus attack damage based on missing health, and can be used to turn Fury into health. Passively, Tryndamere permanently has bonus attack damage, and gains additional bonus attack damage per 1% of his missing health. When activated, Tryndamere consumes all of his Fury, and heals himself, increased for every point of Fury consumed. So this ability is pretty fantastic, because not only does it give you flat AD, but you get even more when you have missing health. That means in those long drawn out trades, Tryndamere is going to get even stronger as he loses health. This can give him a massive amount of damage, but when he does dip too low, he can activate the ability to gain a bunch of health back. As long as you're consistently auto-attacking either the enemy champion or minions in the lane phase, you're going to have a bunch of Fury, and you can consistently turn this into health if you do need to. It's easily our best ability because of all the bonus attack damage and the fact that you can use it to heal yourself and keep yourself sustained, so make sure you max it first. Your W ability is Mocking Shout, and this is your ability that slows the enemy champions and also reduces their attack damage. When activated, Tryndamere reduces the attack damage of all nearby enemies for 4 seconds, also slowing targets who have their backs turned to him for the duration. So this ability, first of all, is great in trades because you will reduce the attack damage of the enemies by quite a bit, and they're not going to do much damage back to you. Make sure you activate it whenever you're trading to make sure you have the advantage. Now this ability is also fantastic for keeping on top of enemies because if they do have their back turned to you, it will also slow by up to 60%. This slow combined with a mobility from your E ability will pretty much allow you to stick on champions forever. When the enemy realizes they can't win a fight against you and start running away, activate the ability to slow them when they have the back turned to you, and then kill them. Your E ability is Spinning Slash, and this is where you get your mobility from, and it also does a pretty significant amount of damage. When activated, Tryndamere dashes to the target location, dealing physical damage to enemies in this path and gaining 2 Fury per enemy hit. Spinning Slash's cooldown is reduced by between 1 and 2 seconds whenever Tryndamere critically strikes. Now this ability also has a 120% AD and 100% AP ratio, so it actually does a big chunk of damage. In our normal builds, we'll pretty much always be 100% crit chance if we do have 100 Fury, so you're going to be reducing the cooldown of it by a lot. Because of this, in team fights, you're actually going to have some pretty decent mobility as long as you can get off some crits. This ability is a great way to get on top of an enemy champion or to escape because it is a 660 range and it only has a 9-second cooldown at max level. Of course, this also gives you some fantastic AoE wave clear. Just this ability alone can almost completely destroy a minion wave. Your ultimate is Undying Rage, and this ability will keep you alive for 5 seconds no matter how much damage you take. When activated, Tryndamere instantly gains Fury and becomes immune to death for 5 seconds, during which his health cannot fall below a certain amount. Undying Rage can be used even when affected by crowd control. So this ability is of course fantastic because not being able to die for 5 seconds will allow you to get off a lot of your damage. In the late game, as long as you can stick to targets, 5 seconds is more than enough time to delete a bunch of targets. To use this ability, of course you want to wait until you're on a pretty low health pool, activate it so you can't die for 5 seconds, and keep fighting. Just before the duration ends, you can use your E ability to try to escape, or of course you can use your Q ability to heal you. This ultimate makes you one of the best split pushers because you can delete pretty much anybody if you have decent gear in 5 seconds, and nobody can come stop your split push. For your skill order, you first want to put a point into your E ability at level 1. Your Q ability isn't going to do a lot at level 1 because you're not going to have max Fury right off the bat, and your E ability is going to add a ton of damage and give you a nice gap closer or escape. You then want to focus on maxing that Q ability first because it gives you some really nice attack damage and of course really solid lane sustain. You then focus on maxing that E ability second because it does an absolute ton of damage and really nice wave clear. That of course means you save your W ability for last, but make sure you take a point at level 4 so you can actually slow the enemy so you can keep on top of them. Now as for your ultimate, you grab it at level 6 and then you save the last 2 points for 17 and 18. The only thing that changes by putting more points into your ultimate is the cooldown going down slightly, a little bit more Fury gained, and the minimum threshold going up as well, which doesn't even matter. It's better just to take it at level 6 so you have it, and then save the rest for the end. In the lane phase, if you're against a hard matchup, then you may want to play a bit more passively and focus on getting all the CS you can. If you need to, start with a Doran's Shield and use your Bloodlust to keep yourself sustained during the lane phase. If you're against a really easy matchup, then you may want to start with a Doran's Blade and trade a lot more aggressively. You may also want to take Ignite and Ghost as your summoner spells to go for a cheesy all-in on the enemy as soon as you hit level 2. Get your Fury high and then jump on them with Spinning Slash, activate your Ghost, ignite the enemy, and auto-attack them until they're dead. It's that simple. In a hard matchup, I would make sure you take Teleport so you can return back to the lane. You're probably going to get pushed out of lane, and then you want to come back as soon as possible. Tryndamere isn't the best team fighter out there, but as long as you pick your time to engage properly, you can be pretty devastating. If you end up engaging too early, you'll just be crowd controlled until you're dead, even through Undying Rage. Wait until a few of their defensives are down, and Exhaust will really shut down your damage. To do this, wait until your team engages and then try to come in from behind or the side. Hopefully some of them won't notice you until it's too late. If you took Teleport, then you also have the option of split pushing until you're needed. This should give your team more than enough time to take down their defensives, and as soon as you sweep in, you should have free reign and be able to take down their carries. Tryndamere is easily one of the best split pushers in the entire game. He's going to have an absolute ton of wave clear when he combines either a Tiamat or a Static Shiv with his Spinning Slash. Once he gets to a tower, he also has a ton of attack damage and attack speed, and if he goes unchecked, he can take it down in seconds. Now, split pushing's best done when you do have Teleport as one of your summoner spells, since you can join teamfights and objectives, but if you happen to have Ignite, you can still do it, but it's not going to be as strong. Just make sure your team is aware that you're not there and they don't engage. If you know your team is too weak to win a straight up 5v5, then you need to be in the side lane putting pressure on the enemy team. Now let's look at some of your hard matchups, and let's kick it off with Gnar. Gnar is going to be very hard for you to deal with because of course he is a ranged champion and he's going to do a lot of damage to you. In the late game you do outscale Gnar pretty hard, so just try to get as much farm as you can and make it to that stage of the game. Let him shove you under tower and just focus on CSing, only play aggressive when you got your jungler there for a gank. Next up is Pantheon, who bullies pretty much every top laner, including of course you. He's going to be spamming spears on you all lane long, so make sure you pick up a Doran shield to help sustain through this damage. Yet again, play a bit more passively than you normally would, focus on getting as much CS as you can because you outscale Pantheon pretty damn hard. He's also not got the best mobility out there, so try to get a couple ganks on him early on. If you can get a couple kills early, this lane is going to be so easy. Next up is Quinn, and against Quinn, the lane is pretty much unwinnable, so just play passive and get whatever farm you can. Her mobility in lane is somewhat limited, so wait for ganks and try to snowball off her from those ganks. She's most likely just going to shove top lane and then start roaming mid, so make sure you call whenever she's missing so your mid laner just doesn't die over and over again, and feed her. In the late game with a decent build, you can absolutely destroy her, so just make it to that portion of the game. And for the last hard matchup, we of course have Teemo. Teemo's really annoying because he's going to do a lot of damage with his auto attack, so make sure you start with a Doran shield. His blinding shot's also going to really shut down your damage, so don't engage on top of him unless you know you can survive and still kill him. Once you get a couple items and you have your ultimate, you can easily destroy him, so just wait until you have that, play passive in the early game. Alright, now let's finish this off with your item build, which starts with either a Doran's Blade health potion and a warding totem, or a Doran's Shield health potion and a warding totem. If I'm against a somewhat easy lane, I'll pretty much always pick up the Doran's Blade, but against a really hard matchup, you pretty much have no option but to go for the Doran's Shield to keep yourself sustained. Now Tryndamere is a champion with an absolute ton of different builds, so we're going to try to cover them all. The first more popular one right now would be the Phantom Dancer, Essence Reaver, and a Ravenous Hydra. This is going to give you a lot of wave clear because of the Tiamat part of the Ravenous Hydra, and a lot of crit chance with the Phantom Dancer and the Essence Reaver. When you add something like an Infinity Edge later on in the game, you will have 30% CDR, and you're also going to be crit capped because of the passive you have. It's a really strong core build, and there's a reason it's pretty popular right now. Now you could be a little bit more old school and go for the Tank Killer core. This has of course the Static Shiv, Infinity Edge, and a Blade of the Ruined King. This core build's going to give you a lot more attack speed, and you're really going to shut down tanks because of the Blade of the Ruined King. You're still going to have a lot of wave clear because of the Static Shiv, and when you combine its shot with your E ability, minion waves are going to be completely wiped out. If you're against a pretty tanky lineup, consider going for this core build. Now last, of course, you could go for the full crit core. This, of course, is the Static Shiv, Infinity Edge, and Phantom Dancer. This is going to give you a pretty decent amount of attack damage, a lot of attack speed, and 80% crit chance with increased critical damage. This is a really strong core build as well, but when you think that your passive adds 35% crit chance, you're wasting a pretty decent amount of crit chance with this build. Whenever you're on full fury, you're going to have 115% crit chance, which is kind of a waste. It's better to go for the Ravenous because you won't be wasting as much critical strike chance. Still, a pretty solid core build because you'll have more crit chance when you're not on 100 fury. For your boot options, you have Berserkers if you want to have more damage, Ninja Tabis against high AED teams, and Merc Treads against high AP and CC heavy teams. Now for the Ravenous crit build, I take that core build, add an Infinity Edge, and an LDR. You'll have 70% crit chance, which will be capped when you have 100 Fury, a bunch of attack damage, nice wave clear from the Ravenous Hydra, and 30% CDR, with of course all that armor pen. This is definitely my favorite full build, and if you didn't need any armor penetration, you could take a Guardian Angel instead of the LDR, or if you did need Grievous Wounds, take of course the Mortal Reminder. For our Tank Killer build, we take that core build and then add a Black Cleaver and a Guardian Angel. You're going to do an absolute ton of damage to tanky targets because of the Black Cleaver and the Blade of the Ruined King, and still do a lot of damage to squishies and pretty much kill them instantly. You're also going to have the Guardian Angel so you can come back to life in a team fight, which is going to be pretty fantastic as well. For the full crit build, we take that core build and then add the LDR and the Guardian Angel. This is also a really solid full build, but as I did mention, you are wasting a pretty decent amount of crit chance when you are on 100 Fury. Having cooldown reduction is definitely not the end-all be-all on Tryndamere, but in this build you're going to have absolutely no CDR, so that's definitely one problem with the build. You will, however, be an absolute late-game monster and be very hard to deal with. Me, personally, I'll pretty much always go for the Ravenous crit build unless I need to kill a lot of tanky targets, in which case I'll go for the Tank Killer. And that's all I've got for top Tryndamere. Don't forget to check out the video description below for a link to all of my social medias. I do also have a Discord server, so if you do need any additional help or you just want to hang out, then please feel free to join. We have a lot of people in there, and a lot of them love to help anybody who needs it. I also have a second Let's Play channel, so if you enjoy Let's Plays, please also check out my second channel. But other than that, thank you guys so much for checking out the video. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, and peace.
Going